Hey, what's up, everybody? We are live, and this is FSP episode blah, I don't know, and we're gonna have a blast here talking. We're gonna talk a lot about Nintendo on this episode today because they had a direct. We spent the whole week. Everybody has spent the whole week talking about Call of Duty exclusivity, and people have been getting up all in their feels on that kind of stuff. So we might take a little break from that today. It's been an interesting week, to say the least. As Pong said, it's been an eye-opening experience to learn a lot about the type of people that are out there, rooting for these consoles and stuff like that. So,
Jesus.
interesting week. Now, besides that, we're gonna also be talking about Sifu because I know Key's been having some fun with that game and some other stuff. So we'll have some fun discussing all these things. And just to say hello, everybody in the chat, thank you for being here. I appreciate you all. I see you, Dusty, Silent Cipher, Brian, what's up, dude? Jasper, how's it going? Now I want to say hello to Key. What's up, Key? You weren't able to be here last week, right? Or you were the week before that. You weren't able to.
It was the week before.
I
was on with Keen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing good, man. Crazy weekend, crazy week, period.
Yeah.
And just trying to keep up with the gaming news, which I'm with Pong, man. Boy, people definitely show their I don't want to say show their ass, but
yeah, it's like you think you know a guy, you think you know somebody, and it's like, whoa, who's this?
Holy crap!
What is this?
Sheesh.
I thought you were cool, man.
Yeah, great Scott. But yeah, but it's always good and fun to be on here to talk about something else. That's the purpose of this podcast, to kind of talk about other things that happen within the week as well.
Yes.
So I'm ready.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And Fuzzy Belvedere. Man, I haven't seen you a lot this week. I'm gonna see you again tonight on Shop Podcast, dude. It's gonna be a blast there. So, but hey, man,
yeah,
how's it going for you? What have you been working on as far as gaming wise? Have you tried Sifu yet, or you diving in?
Oh yeah,
nice.
Having a ton of fun with Sifu, although I've kind of had to put it down for a bit so I don't break my controller because I'm getting up there to that third level, and it's it's hard for a 70-something-year-old man to make it past the first part of the thing. But Sifu's been big. There was a recent update for Insurgency. They finally fixed a few more bugs, so Insurgency Sandstorm is still in the loop. Horizon 5 is still in the loop. And then Crossfire, I'm still kind of waiting for that campaign piece to unlock, but I already know what the multiplayer was like from the beta, and I'm hearing it may be maybe a step back or about the same. So I'll probably dive into that just for laughs and stuff. But yeah, playing a little bit of everything that's out there right now.
Right on, man. So guys, I don't know, Fuzzy, we were talking a little bit, but Nintendo actually had a Nintendo Direct this week, and wow, it was actually, from my perspective, it was really good. This was like one of the things we've been kind of waiting for from Nintendo, to have a show where we just see lots of new stuff, right? And that's what we got in this. We got a lot of new stuff. So Fuzzy, I know that you were kind of going through some of it and checking out some of these trailers before we went live here, but was there anything that stood out specifically to you from that show?
Just for me, like the way the Nintendo Wii was, having Switch Sports.
Yeah,
that's huge.
That's what Mr. Boomstick's really excited for too.
Just having that interactive activity, family centered type of thing that the family and friends can just chill and go bowling and stuff like that. Like that was awesome for the Wii, and to have that now for the Switch as well is huge. There was a couple other things that stood out as well. Like for me, the No Man's Sky coming to it, although I'm kind of wondering if it's streaming or not. But having like some of these third-party games come to it now was definitely pretty cool. Mario Kart 8 with a lot of the classic tracks and things like that. That's that's huge. And then Splatoon. And, I mean, there's just so many things. But for me, I think the central highlight was probably Switch Sports. I'm probably going to mess up and call it Wii Sports a couple of times, but Switch Sports was definitely, I think, like at least from my standpoint, the highlight.
So I'm going to go through these games, and we can kind of get like your take or input on each one of these, okay? I don't know if you had a chance to check out the Nintendo Direct key, but you have? Okay, cool. So first off, they showed Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. So this is one of those big like hack and slash like Warriors games, in the Fire Emblem universe now. So Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, and that started off the show, which is a brand new game announcement. And also it looks to be like it's not that bad. It's coming out on June 24th. Is that something you're actually interested in, or do you not really go for those like Dynasty Warriors type games?
Well, I know for me, so what was that, like 3 years ago, maybe they released a Fire Emblem game and it sold very well. From my understanding, I remember being in the car and I called up my buddy. He's like a huge Nintendo fan, huge. I mean, he got Mega Man tatted on his arm, like he's a huge. So I ended up asking him about it, and he did point out and say it's not for everybody. It is something different, but it's not for everybody. After that conversation, I just kind of steered away from it. So
no problem. I'm not gonna do it either. I don't really like those big like, remember 99 Nights on the 360, and there's Dynasty Warriors, and then there's all these other, they had Hyrule Warriors, all these like Warriors spin-off games kind of. This is like another one of those. They don't really do anything for me personally.
That was the thing, because even to the story, I heard the story was pretty good as well. So it's like I kind of want to check it out, but at the same time, I'm kind of in between, because like, man, I don't want to go buy this game, and 20 minutes into it, I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I'm stuck with it now. What do I do? Do I take it back to GameStop and get $5 for it now, or what? So it's
if you trade it in right away, you'll get more. Like, one thing I will say about Switch games, the trade-in values usually stay pretty high on those suckers too.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, but just because they never go on sale.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah, the Switch games, they never go on sale. So if you buy like Switch games and you're iffy about it, buy physical on the Switch, right? Because even if you keep it for like 2 months or so, you're still gonna get probably 25, 30, $35.
That was just my biggest worry.
Yeah.
Or just go buy used, and worst case scenario.
Yeah, or sell it on eBay.
There you go. But a lot of people are definitely happy about it. So, if you're happy, I'm happy, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll check out a few videos, walkthroughs, and call it a day.
It didn't really jump off the screen to me. It's like whatever. What about you, Fuzz? Did that catch your attention at all?
I think it was one of those games, like you said, like a lot of the Warrior style games where it's like 1 versus 100 type of thing, as far as your slash.
Yeah, it's a huge Warriors battle style.
Yeah, those are pretty cool, but for me at this current point in time, no, because I wouldn't mind trying it out, but I'm in the same kind of boat. It's like, I know I'd probably play it for a couple of days and then set it down and then probably not go back to it. But it definitely has a cool aesthetic to it. Overall look of the game looks pretty cool. But it's not my type at the minute. Like, for a hack and slash, I prefer like where it's like one-on-one battles, or at least like not like you're surrounded by a whole army type of thing, and you have to like slash them and then throw them up in the air and slice through that and throw them 50 feet away or something along those lines.
Cool. But, we'll move past this one. I don't think anybody's actually excited for it at all. All right. So what about Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp? Now, Advance Wars was huge in the DS and all that kind of stuff, right? So Advance Wars is getting a like remaster with 1 and 2. It looks like.
Mhm.
So that's pretty interesting. Does that excite anybody here? No.
It
Fuzzy?
looks like a cool strategy thing. Like
Yeah.
if you're into that style game or like something like Worms or something like that,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
worthwhile.
It's a very
I always
simple
look at it as
tactics
like
game, basically.
yeah. I look at it as like a good car trip game. You know, kids in the back,
Oh yeah.
like a versus
Mhm.
type of thing. I think that's where this game,
Yep.
at least from my household, stands out type of thing. But yeah, I think road trip versus backseat battle between the boys, that's where it probably will play out for me.
So is this something like, because I'm looking at the trailer now, right? And I'm trying to look at trailers of games that kind of like, you know, not the big games, because those are the ones I'm excited for, but the little ones I'm trying to just
Mhm.
kind of refresh on. Come out April 8th, so that's good. But
Mhm.
just looking at it, like I never even heard of this game. You said it's for the DS before? It came on the DS?
I think it was Advance Wars. Was it on the 3DS or on the Game Boy Advance even or something? Yeah, it's on the Advance,
Yeah.
the Game Boy Advance originally.
Advanced.
And I think
See,
it's been on
so
everything since then, you know.
yeah, well, that's definitely was not on my radar. I don't know. I was too busy playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Probably. Chances
Yeah.
are. So so yeah. For that, with that being said, I probably won't pick it up unless my son want to try it out, something to play with him, maybe.
Mhm.
For me, then that'll probably be a pass as well.
Okay.
Mhm.
Fair enough. Me too. There's so many strategy games, like tactics games, right, that are coming.
Mhm.
Which we'll get into one of these that I'm really excited about that we may have gotten some kind of confirmation on in a little while.
Yeah.
But so moving on past the other game we're not excited about, what about No Man's Sky actually making its way to the Switch?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean, how's
hoping
that going to
it's
work?
I'm assuming it's probably streaming, but if they can scale it back or scale it down to run on the Switch natively, that would be awesome. Right now, well, although the boys aren't playing No Man's Sky at the current moment, they were playing a lot of that not too long ago. Like their gaming taste change pretty much by, I won't say by the day. It's now more like a couple of weeks or by the month type of thing. But yeah, No Man's Sky portable on the go. Yeah, that's huge. Well, I won't say it's huge, but that was one of the things that kind of stood out as well for me for the direct, having that game come to the Switch now.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So No Man's
Never been
Sky.
into No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Never been into it. And the concept, I remember when they first announced it, like the concept sounded cooler then. It came out then, the hate then, you know, it revived itself, of course, but
Yeah.
I just never get off into it,
Yeah.
honestly. So that's gonna be another pass for me.
This is
gonna be another one.
for me. No Man's Sky is one of those games I was like kind of excited about. You know, I was like, oh, okay, this actually isn't really for me. But then it was like,
Mhm.
okay, then there's this huge update and like all this news about all this new stuff, and everybody's like so into No Man's Sky, and I was like, man, I need to try that game again, you know, because it seems so awesome now. And then
Mhm.
I will install it, and then I'll load it, and I'll do the same thing I did like 2 years ago, you know, kind of go into the world for like 5 minutes, you know, and I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, this is like still for me right now. I like it's one of those games I think to really experience everything and get the pure enjoyment of everything it has to offer. You really got to invest into it, right?
Yeah.
And I
And
think that was the big thing, right? Like exploring different type of planets
yeah,
and scanning stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot to it now, and
Mhm.
it was just cool. I mean, it's a huge, massive game now. I just it's too big for me to keep giving it a chance when I got so much other stuff to play, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just that's the main problem, right? There's too
So let
many
me ask
big
you,
games. Like,
do you feel like, just because I never touched it,
mhm.
never, I don't know nothing about it far as past the trailers
Mhm.
or reading about it. So do you feel like if you would have stuck with it, then you probably would have been more invested or more excited? Or you just feel like,
Maybe I tend to be a person that doesn't stick with games for like years. You know what
Mhm.
I mean?
yeah,
Like I have never really stuck with a game for years. you know.
Can barely stick with it for a month.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I mean, if 3 months for me, 4 months for me, like really playing a lot of one game,
yeah,
is extremely rare. Right now, last generation, I did that a lot with just Call of Duty and Madden, just like when I wasn't playing other stuff, because it was always that like default, just turn it on your box and just get sucked into that, and then when something new came out you're excited about, you play that, right? But those games are just like time wasters for me, really, more than anything else. And I think that games like this, like that progress and you accumulate more and like you really get invested into it, and there's new updates and all these things, kind of like Destiny as well. It's kind of like that, right? I just have never really been someone that has gotten too sucked into that type of ecosystem and world. And I think it's just because there's always something else I want to play. And then I do that, I spend a couple of weeks away and I go back and I'm like, I forget everything.
Right.
I forget how to live in this world. You know, like, it's like, what is this? Who's this guy? He wasn't here a couple weeks ago. Like, what am I supposed to do with him? You know, like, he has an icon above his head and I don't know what it means. And there's some kind of new, like, thing that says I'm supposed to do something. And I don't know. I don't understand it. It's like too confusing, right? Like, but like, if you stay constantly engaged and you keep up with the news, oh, this thing's coming next week and I'm really excited about it. It's going to have this and this. Like, you're like, gotta live it and breathe it and like constantly like be involved with it. And I just can't do that with games anymore, you know? Like,
it's funny you brought up Destiny. That's why I'm laughing, because I stream Destiny. Like, I only come back to Destiny when there's a new chapter in it. So I streamed it. You know, I had a few of my viewers play with me. She's like a huge Destiny person. Like, she loves it. And so I had her and a couple of her friends help me. And I told them, listen, talk to me like I'm 3. Tell me to press A, go down 3 times to the left, because you telling me to do this is not working for me. You know, you're using words. I'm like, what the hell is that? Who is that? Is that a planet or a person? So I can agree with you.
It takes me a while to process all this stuff and figure out the systems. And like, I play a lot with Pong, our buddy Pong Soul. And we play a lot of games together, and like we'll dive back into older games too, and like and he just like kind of like goes through the systems, he reads everything, he's like really like organized and like it gets it all. And I'm like skipping all those screens, right? Because I don't have the patience. I don't have the patience to read it, and that's part of my problem. I don't have the patience. I lack this patience. I got to just go into the world and figure it out. And then he's like, Matt, did you skip that? They just told us that, you know, or like, I'm not listening. She just told us to go over there. Like, why are you not listening? And he gets so frustrated. And I'm like, dude, just tell me what to do, man. I have no clue what the hell I'm doing. You know,
just take lead.
But once like for like a few days of playing in it, or maybe even just like several hours, I'm like, okay, it clicks. I understand it all. I understand the system, and you know, I'm into it. But then if I stop playing, it's just you know, like if I stop playing for more than a week or 2, it just reverts back to nothing, right? That's the problem. So, all right. So next up, guys, Mario Strikers Battle League. Now, this is one everybody's talking about because it looks rad. Even the box art looks sick. And the so this is a 5 versus 5 multiplayer focused Mario Strikers game. It looks like kind of Rocket League-ish, which, I mean, this is not the first Mario Strikers, right? This is one in a series, but man, it looks pretty cool. And I think out of all these games, I keep seeing like new games announced from the Switch and things like this one has done the most for me to say, like, okay, they're finally getting a bunch of different kind of stuff out there, right? And this one looks really impressive. So, Fuzzy, Mario Strikers, is that something that you would dive into?
Definitely something I'd give a try. For the most part, like Rocket League isn't necessarily my go-to game, but anytime I do fall into it, I wind up playing it for at least a week or 2. This one, I would say for Strikers, I'm glad they brought that series back, and Yeah, I think this one is at least a try. The minute the boys are like, yeah, we want this, it's it's pretty much a done deal at that point. But yeah, this will be one I'll give a try with them as well.
Yeah, this comes out on June 10th too, so a lot of these games like are not far away, right?
Yeah.
So that's another really cool thing about this show. What about you, Key? Mario Strikers, does it look like a big bowl of fun?
Yes, to me it does, because like I said before, only time I play the Switch, if we could find it, because it's somewhere floating around here, only time we play the Switch is when we're playing some type of Mario game.
Yeah.
You know, me and my wife, my boys, you know, we playing Mario, you know, Mario Kart, whatever, you know. What's the other Mario game? I can't think about it, but yeah, so seeing this, I think this would be really fun to get off into. Because like I said, me, my wife, and my two boys, my little one, he don't play video games yet. So it's like a good matchup, 2 versus 2 type deal. And just I mean, I think it's great. You know, only downfall I have about this is how's the online going to work for this? Because
they say they got online clubs and stuff, and let's see.
Right,
but like,
and that's you know, because we know about Nintendo online service, so it's like if they could get that down pack, I think this will be a perfect game to play with friends online. You know, co-streamers showing off whatever, you know, uploading clips, things like that. I think it would be great if they could get that down pack. But for me, again, I want to play this with my family, so I'm kind of excited for it. Something new, something different.
Yeah, I'm actually like, man, like that's the one game like, shoot, now I want to get a Switch again, right?
Yeah,
like that's the one that really did it on this one. But you know, what I'm gonna do is probably hold off and just get one later. Hope, like, we'll see, like even after more stuff drops again. But yeah, that
I don't think that's a
like
reason to go buy a Switch, honestly.
No,
that's
you
not
know, it's whenever they have a show like this, you're like, damn it, you know, now I want one again. But then it quickly fades away. It's just after the excitement, after the show, right? So yeah, there was lots of cool stuff here. The online stuff, I think, you know, the main thing is the chat functionality, right? People are going to be using Discord and and other services for the chat, which means you got to have another device besides just your Switch to communicate with. Which I think these younger generations and stuff are just getting more and more comfortable with and used to, right? Like they all use Discord, they all use all these other chat apps and stuff. So I just don't know why Nintendo just doesn't say, okay, well, they're using other stuff anyway, why don't we just host it ourselves?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they could implement a better system themselves to make these things work, but maybe we'll see that in the future. Hey, Splatoon 3 Salmon Run Next Wave. This is we got another look at Splatoon 3 during the Nintendo Direct, another multiplayer game again. So there will be, it says there will be several different powerful enemies to defeat in this mode, each with their own attacks to keep you from staying in one place for too long. And if you have played the Salmon Run mode in Splatoon 2, you know how chaotic and difficult it can be just after a few minutes. Splatoon 3 will be out this summer for Nintendo Switch. Again, this summer. So Splatoon 3, that's 3 pretty decently big games all coming this summer. You know, you got the Fire Emblem, you got Fire Emblem Warriors, you got Splatoon 3 and the Mario Strikers.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. They definitely coming out swinging for the spring summertime, which makes you wonder what's going on for the holidays. You know, what they're going to bring out for the holidays. But that's for a different conversation, I feel like.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder.
Any Splatoon fans here? Like, one thing I'll say about Splatoon is the online works well as far as like connectivity goes. So I'm hoping like with the Mario Strikers, it's gonna do well as well with that. But Fuzzy, like Splatoon, are you Splatoon fanatic? Yeah, do you play the Squid Games?
Not as much a fanatic, but the boys are. So
yeah,
that it's another one of those that's it's definitely going to be probably a buy for them, and I'll hop into it on occasion type of thing. But it's pretty cool that they now have this new one coming. Kind of, I wasn't sure if they were going to do another Splatoon this soon, but it's good that they're doing it now.
Yeah, the team that makes the Splatoon games, they're able to get these out like, pretty quickly, between 1, 2, and 3, right? That's one thing, like, with this team, it seems like they're doing better than other groups at Nintendo, at least, like, being able to get sequels out or more games, right? Now, that being said, are they that different from each other? That's another argument, right? Like, is it just another excuse to sell pretty much the same game with just a little bit more content? I don't know. Maybe so. We'll see. Splatoon 3 coming. All right, so then we got, huge surprise for Chrono Cross fans out there. Classic game is now coming to the Switch and also other platforms as well. So this is not just a Nintendo thing. This is also Xbox, PlayStation, I think PC. Chrono Cross is coming. And the other cool thing is, I don't like to say the name, but Jason Schreier had tweeted on Twitter that this game being revealed also, in a roundabout way, confirms the existence of some of these other games from the NVIDIA leaks that happened. Meaning Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster and also Final Fantasy 9 Remake.
Yeah.
So that has me kind of excited, right? Like Final Fantasy Tactics is one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
Of all time. So if that's multi-platform, again, like this as well, man, I have a lot of excitement about that possibility. But if it
would it get you to go back and get the Switch?
Well, if it's only on Switch, that will for sure.
Yeah.
Because like right now, the only way to really play Final Fantasy Tactics with a new anything is like Android, right? And so you can do it on your PC, and it has it's just not great, And then you could do on your phone, or if you have a Vita OLED, there's a version on there you can play, but those are still not really like remastered,
Right.
And they're still also like not the best versions of it, that's like the War of the Lions one and stuff. Like, I want Final Fantasy Tactics to be brought to a new generation in a great way, right? To be brought up to a little bit more like color and style to it, just like the controls really well. I mean, it's a tactics game, so you can't do too much, but like it's such an important game to me, right? So
it'll be more of the visual part that will be more upgraded versus the control, correct?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, some of the menus maybe could do some, reworkings and stuff like that. But like as far as like visuals, like you could do so much more with some of these animations and like some of the moves and stuff. When you do like moves in the game and stuff like that, you could have some really cool visual effects and stuff now these days than you could in the past. I would really like to see them go all out on Final Fantasy Tactics. Maybe new content, add like some other interesting modes into it as well, potentially, but yeah, as far as Chrono Cross though, I want to get back onto that. Either of you guys been into Chrono Cross before?
It's not something I've played in the past. I know one of my sons will probably be interested in giving it a try. The other one will probably just say pass. But it does look pretty cool as far as them bringing that to Switch. Hey, when they come into other consoles, fingers crossed, we might see it either in Game Pass or like, well, I doubt we'll see it in PS Plus, but hopefully by then maybe Spartacus will, be alive and kicking, and this might be one of those first, third party type of things that they put in there as well. But pretty cool showing over at the Direct.
Yeah.
For me, it's it comes out April 7th. Man, Nintendo about to have a great first and second quarter.
Yeah, remember
quarter.
This one's multi-plat too, so you'll be able to play this on Xbox. I wouldn't actually even be surprised if they didn't make some kind of like announcement where this is something that's coming to Game Pass or something, right? Because
I would check it out for coming to Game Pass, of course.
Just because
maybe
I've seen that before with some of these games that have showed up at like Nintendo Directs and things like that, and even PlayStation showcases like some of these games, and then later, like closer to release, it's like coming to Game Pass as well, especially on these like smaller titles like this, where it's kind of like a remaster or whatever. So I wouldn't pull that past them, because this is a Square Enix thing. You know, they brought Octopath Traveler to Game Pass as well. So I'm just saying there's a possibility. I wouldn't hold your breath, but
I mean, to be honest, for me, it's honestly that I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I will probably not play this game, even if it hit Game Pass, unless somebody I follow do screenshots or just kind of give some feedback. For the most part, I probably won't play this, honestly.
It's just a classic. That's not. I mean, it's just brought out to like a new edition, right? It doesn't seem like it's had a lot of work put into it, really.
But also, there has to be some type of following.
Oh, there's huge,
because come on now, you're not gonna remaster a dead game. So again, if y'all happy, I love it.
It's one of those classic like RPG games, that's like really being brought back. Another classic game that's being brought to the Switch, as we're on to a few of these now, is Portal. Portal Companion Collection. So this is coming again this year. It says later this year. Specific date was not revealed. But yeah, Portal on the Switch. This seems like a good fit for me.
Portal, I would say Portal is probably one of those games that I just wish it was. I wish Valve would make new ones, but I don't think that's ever going to be the case. But yeah, having that on the Switch is going to be a pretty cool setup. I'm glad they're bringing it to the Switch now.
Yeah, I think that was another sleeper. I mean, there's other games we've seen that kind of overshadow this, but I think that was a sleeper. Like I think that's big because a lot of people have not experienced Portal.
A lot of kids, right?
And that too. So it's like I think that would be a great that's a great pickup. If you have a Switch and you was curious about it, or even you had kids that's into that type of puzzle type deal or whatnot, like that's the game to get for them, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll catch on for sure. Then we got Nintendo Switch Sports. This has brought a lot of people excited. This is April 29th, guys. Again, all of these things are like so far, for the most part, between June and April now. Like, this is a lot of games coming out in the next few months that they just announced. I like this, right? But this goes to show why they were so quiet. Like the last few Nintendo Directs we had were like, where's all the new game announcements? Well, they dropped all of them in this one. Right? That's what it seems like. What about you, Fuzz? You excited for Switch Sports?
Yeah, I think this is the one, even though the kids will probably look at me funny for it. This is the one I wind up picking up for them, or trying to coax them into playing as well. And they were like, why do you want to? We could just go to the bowling alley up the road. No, this is the way you bowl. We're not going to the bowling alley up the road. So yeah,
it's too cold outside to go to the bowling alley. Come on.
But Wii Sports. I said it again. Switch Sports is that's I think for somebody like me that's huge. I'm kind of surprised they didn't even hint to this sooner, type of thing. But I almost guarantee this is going to probably sell like another 20 million units within like a very short period of time.
Yeah. It very well. This one probably will, because this will be one that like I think a lot of parents are going to buy. A lot of kids are going to ask for it.
That's what I was about to say. Like for us, you know, when the Switch came out. I mean, not the Switch, the Wii. That was the reason I bought it, honestly. That and that Sora game. I can't remember the name of it. But those were the reasons I had a Switch, them two games right there. So when I seen it, I was excited. You know, my wife to this day still asks me, like, where's the Wii? I want to play Wii bowling. Yeah. And I'm like, I actually have no idea. And she always look at me funny, like, you sold it to GameStop, did you? And I'm like, I didn't sell it. Like, I don't know where it is. but she, you know, she still asks about it to this day. So again, I think our generation will definitely enjoy it. I think when it comes out, we're going to see a lot of videos of TVs being broken because these kids have not experienced it yet. But yeah, I'm excited for it. Now that I am going to pick up for sure.
Right on. Online playtest February 18th to 20th. It just said. Yeah. I really enjoyed Wii Sports. I really enjoyed the Wii. You know, that what happened to the Wii was it was so successful that there was so much shovelware and crap put on it, and Nintendo stopped making games for it themselves, and they started focusing on the Wii U. And they only had a few things that were working on the Wii U, and then they brought the Wii U out with only a few things and just kind of dumped it out there, and it kind of killed the whole Wii thing altogether, right?
I tell you what, the Wii was definitely ahead of its time for sure.
Yeah,
hands down.
Visually, no, right?
No,
but graphically, no. But I mean, it had like the backwards compatibility with the virtual store. You had a lot of, you could buy 64 games and Nintendo games like SNES game, all that kind of stuff, right? It's digitally, right? And then you also had your, you know, you could buy your games for it, just like regular. You had the motion controls, plus you had, you know, the regular controller that you could get and everything for it. And there was a lot of great games that came out for it. And there's also a lot of bad games that came out for it. People that didn't really know how to use the motion controls and just kind of put out a bunch of random stuff. And ultimately, I think people just kind of like, because Nintendo wasn't coming out with enough like the next big thing from them to come out for the system. Like it kind of died off eventually because it became to where there's too much of a long run of just all the other shovelware stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so then they came out with the Switch. And then the Wii is pretty much irrelevant at this point, but the Switch has all that motion control tech and stuff in it. It's just they haven't really been utilizing it very well, right? So this is going to be the first time we're going to see that like crossover where it's like the Switch is now being more utilized like a Wii was, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that crosses over. Yeah, but I think it's going to sell well because of all of us. Right, that are like, okay, I remember having fun on the Wii. I want to get that. I want my kids to enjoy it. Families, events, parties, you know, all these things, right? Great for that. And hey guys, how would you like every Mario Kart track ever?
No, I want a new one.
Mario Kart. Well, yeah. What happened to Mario Kart 9? That was that officially announced or leaked? I don't remember.
It was kind of messy with that, because I remember probably like definitely about a month ago, maybe less.
A few weeks ago.
It was trending. And I'm like, holy shit! There's another Mario Kart. And I get on there and it's like, not necessarily type deal. Then of course this came out and this actually got a lot of hate, to be honest, and people wasn't happy about it, of course, because they want a new Mario Kart 9. But the biggest thing was people saying it's a downgrade, like the graphics are downgraded. Have you guys been hearing about that?
I think it's because there's just a lack of stuff put into these tracks, right? Like I think they're just kind of bringing the tracks out and kind of have them look okay, but they're not really putting a lot of effort.
Not putting a lot of time into
it. 48 of them, right? So you know, it's not like they're big original new tracks. So I think it's cool for what they're only charging $25 for all 48 tracks, right?
Yeah.
So that right in here itself is fine, but
right here, what it's saying is that it's the booster course pass or whatnot. You get 6 waves of DLC. 8 remaster courses, which is, I guess, good. But it would total 48 treks courses throughout 2023. And yes, it is $24.99 as well. So, I mean, it's for the Mario Kart fans out there, it's just feeding you something. Just
like a season pass almost.
Yeah. Kind of like a season pass, just to kind of keep the name alive, which honestly, they don't need to do that. But I mean, it's interesting to see, but it was just a lot of people was talking about how the graphics was downplayed, downgraded.
Yeah.
And it did get a little heat. Actually got a lot of heat because of that. But the same people that's making those tweets will be the same people playing it. So we know how they go.
Yeah.
I'll probably pick it up, honestly. I'll probably get it.
Yeah. I won't. I mean, when I like Mario Kart, like I've played Mario Kart 8 like so many times now. Like it came out originally on the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I played it on the Wii U. I played it on the Switch. I had a lot of fun playing on it. It's just I'm ready for the next thing now instead of more tracks for the existing. All right. Next up, guys, this is a big one. They ended the show with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, I will just go ahead and say that I am actually a little disappointed about this announcement, and I'll tell you why. I didn't want to see this happen until there was a new device.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is what it is. Fuzzy, are you into the Xenoblade games at all?
I haven't played them. My sons have played them. I'm thinking this is probably one that, and it's going to probably sound weird, that winds up being like a cross-generational thing, hopefully, I guess, kind of like the way Breath of the Wild 2 might wind up being one. Hoping that there's kind of like what you're saying about being disappointed. Hopefully there'll be some new hardware coming soon or within the next year or two. But yeah, the trailer on this was pretty much awesome. But yeah, I've never played Xenoblade Chronicles, so this would be like a whole new experience for me. But my sons have I think they've played the other two, and pretty much this is going to be one of those that they're going to request me to buy as soon as they get like A's on their report card type of deal. So
yeah, I mean the second one, like so far was like really excellent, except like I can't enjoy it. Not because of the game, because of the lack of quality on how it's being presented to me from the device, right? And that really killed Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for me. Like I was pumped, and then all I can do when I'm playing it is like notice how blurry everything is and how like it's performing, and it's so distracting, and especially on a big screen, because I don't play in handheld. I don't like playing in handheld modes, right? It's too small of a screen for me, so I play on big screen, right? And that game, like even though artistically is gorgeous, the text dialogue isn't, everything's blurry, the screen's blurry, the textures are blurry, everything's blurry, and it doesn't perform that well either, right? So it's like, oh man, it just kills me that that game was brand new and was like that, right? So Xenoblade Chronicles 3, super excited for it, but it's coming out this September, which means it's not going to be releasing on new Nintendo hardware, which means that it's going to have probably the same issues for me that I had with the second one.
But let me ask you, because looking at it, it looks good, honestly. And I get what you're saying 100%. I don't play handheld, it's either on one of the TVs.
They look great on a little video. Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. But just looking at it, looked great. I don't know if that was any type of gameplay or anything like that.
It's the cutscenes and stuff. And then
Yeah,
some of it was gameplay where they're running across the fields and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, it does look fairly well. Makes you wonder, how much of the power they pushing with the Switch for that. Because to me, I was like, man, this looks good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, go back and watch the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 trailers were amazing as well, right?
Yeah, and that's I mean that's what it is. You gotta sell it to us. So, if I know for me, I probably won't pick it up as well.
And this
never
is not
been into it, honestly.
Again, this is not saying Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is
a
bad
game. Yeah,
it's an absolutely fantastically amazing game that I wish was on a better performing system, so that way it can be presented to me in all of its glory. And right, and like I feel like if you play it on a small screen, like you're gonna get better, closer to that experience, right? But that's for me. I don't enjoy games on a little screen like that. It's like it doesn't work for me, right? So I'm curious about this, right? Like when do you guys think we see new Nintendo hardware at this point? Now it doesn't have to be like a console, right? It can be the next iteration of the Switch, which I think whatever it's gonna be, it has to be in the same ecosystem as the Switch. Like the game's gotta carry over. Too many people have been buying games digitally for their Switch devices. I can't fathom the possibility of Nintendo leaving all of those behind in the new hardware that they end up coming out with, like they did with the Wii, moving into the Switch, right? Because we've all adopted digital distribution so much more this generation than in the past, right? So they won't go over as well for people as it did last time, right? If all these digital games that they own aren't going to move forward with them to the next Nintendo hardware, there'll be a lot of upset people if that were to happen. So I'm assuming it's going to be another iteration of this, but better, right? When is that a possibility? Do we think that's when we're going to get Breath of the Wild 3? And will games like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 look and perform better on a new Switch, right? Or are they still going to be capped at however they're presented currently?
That's a tough one. Like I'm still of the belief that it's not that they abandon the Switch. I think the next progression and some of the stuff will be able to carry over, although it won't be quite as interactive as the new device will make it. But I'm still under the impression that Nintendo throws a curveball again and makes like a VR headset that's a standalone at a reasonable price, like not too much more than what a current Switch OLED is, or about the same price. And a lot of those games will be able to carry over. There will be an improvement on fidelity. There'll be an improvement on the processing. But I think we see something maybe in the holidays of this year or early 2023. But I still think that's the route they go, although a Switch Pro, which we've been talking about a Switch Pro for like 2 years plus years now, and a lot of people were like, oh, the Switch Pro is going to be announced, and then we got the Switch OLED. I don't know. I would hope that there's a Switch Pro. It's still actually somewhere possibly in the near future, especially with the Steam Deck starting to ship out, I think next month or something like that, or the end of this month. But yeah, they hopefully by holiday we hear something. Like we got last holiday, we got the OLED announcement. So maybe it's time, like they do that interim like bump up just before like there's new stuff coming out.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a sign that, oh, let's, finish off the Switch with this. And then before we bring the Switch 2, at least get that screen upgraded. So that way that's the standard for the next one. And then, the internals will be, on par with like this, like on the lower side of this generation kind of thing, as far as more of a mobile version, almost like not quite as high spec as the Steam Deck or a Series S, but something not too far off that they'll be able to work with and keep up for this generation in at least a little bit closer, where it's not as, you know, behind graphically and performance wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this article this is from Tom's Guide. This was published 8 days ago. And they said that Nintendo's latest set of financial results have been released, and they contain some morsels of information that will surely make Nintendo fans very happy. An accompanying report lays out Nintendo's software release plan for the rest of 2022. And the good news is that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 is still on that list, so we can still plan on potentially getting that game this year. The game was confirmed to be targeting a 2022 release date last summer, but there have been whispers that it could slip into 2023 as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to have a significant impact on game development. Of course, there is still a possibility that Breath of the Wild 2 will be delayed into next year, but it's an encouraging sign that Nintendo still believes the hugely anticipated sequel is on track to drop in 2022. The results also confirm that Splatoon 3, Bayonetta 3, and Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope are all expected this year as well. Well, we just got news of Splatoon 3. So this looks like it's going to be a massive year for Nintendo. But also, it says the news isn't quite so positive for Metroid fans, as Metroid Prime 4 isn't on the list, and its release date is still unknown. Metroid Prime 4 was first announced in 2017. It's endured an extremely rocky development cycle so far. So, all right, also, here's where it gets interesting. Good news for the rumored Switch 2. Nintendo's financial results don't just contain updates on upcoming software. A Switch successor has also been teased. During a Q&A session summarized by Japan-based analyst David Gibson, Nintendo was asked about carrying the Switch's existing player base over to its next console. Nintendo's reply hints that not only is a next-gen device on the way, but it may be backwards compatible with the Switch's existing library. This would definitely make sense, as both the PS5 and Series X offer some degrees of backwards compatibility, and Nintendo will likely want to follow suit. So it says it's not entirely clear if this next-gen device would be a full Nintendo Switch 2 or a more incremental upgrade, a la the rumored Switch Pro. Either way, the next Nintendo console could still be several years off, as in a recent earnings call, Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa commented that the Switch is just in the middle of its life cycle. So when are we? That's the question. All right. So good news is, yes, they are working on it. So people that are saying, oh, they're never going to move on from the Switch. Of course they are. They have to move on always from hardware to the next iteration, right? The question is when, right? If the middle, it's already 5 years. Maybe it's the end of the middle, right? 2 years away, hopefully, maybe 3 at the most. And I'm thinking this is the last big wave of huge releases this year, right? Potentially, we maybe get a few more releases next year, and then everything else after that would be for this Switch 2, but they did acknowledge, back compat, right? So that tells me it's in the same ecosystem. Promising, yes, maybe, but also a little disappointing. So far away.
I actually got a lot to say about that, but before I get off into that, let me just say this. And I'm just reading the chat, and my guy Hyper, he said he want a console. It should be a console, you know. And honestly, I think at this point, Nintendo will always be some type of handheld, because it's just that successful. With that being said, I think they should come out with a handheld and a console, honestly. I think now is the best way to part ways and have some type of, because cross play, cross save, cross progression, like we are there now. I think now is the time to perhaps separate and get a handheld and also a unit that stays with your TV versus another deck type thing. That's what I think, but I would probably say if I had to put a year on it, I will probably say we might see or get some type of knowledge that is being made, maybe a logo or something, probably towards the end of the year. Not the summer, maybe video game awards, maybe, or not even that, just their own little direct, because that's what they're known for. I think maybe logo just to say, hey, we are here, we're making it, it's coming, be patient. I think next year we get an announcement, and probably holiday 2023 or fall 2024 they release it. I think, why not? Because again, Breath of the Wild, put that on there. Day one dropping on there. Yes, there is a Switch version because how many Switches are out there?
Over 100
it's
million
like
already.
well over 100 million. So you definitely gotta please, the Switch people, because 100 million, you can't just turn your back on them.
Yeah.
But definitely, say, hey, we still have you guys covered, but if you really want to get our new gimmicks, because they're going to come out with some type of new gimmick,
Yeah.
If you really want to get the full experience on it, get it on this new console that we're dropping for the holiday, day one with it, probably come out, of course, with another Mario game with it, like just hit everywhere, even, Bayonetta, because everybody been waiting on that, probably a higher end version of that as well. So, and definitely make it backwards compatible. You see the amount of heat and hate, that we've been experiencing this generation, because people still play those older games. So you definitely need to make that backwards compatible. But yeah, I think within the next 2 years tops, I think we'll see a new Switch, a new Nintendo device. I won't say a new Switch, a new Nintendo device.
Yeah.
Or console.
It's really hard to guess because, going back and looking at the release, the initial reveal of the Switch happened in October of 2016, October 20th. And then less than 5 months later, it came out in March, right? So it's only March 3rd. So that's almost November to March, actually. So it's a little over 4.5 weeks almost, 4 weeks, 4 months and 3 weeks. That's a very short turnaround time between announcement and actually releasing, because they don't want people to stop buying the existing hardware, right?
Well, also Nintendo play by their own rules. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Xbox and PlayStation, they all about the holidays. Nintendo, it could be a freaking Wednesday.
Yeah.
They don't care, because they know it's gonna sell like hotcakes. So, mad respect to Nintendo, man. I love it.
Yeah. So I'm what I'm gonna guess is at the end of next year. Well, what is next year? 2023. Okay.
2023.
Yeah.
So that's at the end of next year, we will get an acknowledgement and we'll get a release in 2024, and then the first half, right? If everything goes to plan,
right?
That would be my guess right now. If I had somebody said, when is the next Switch coming out? And what I'm hoping is that it plays all of these existing games better, so I can go back and enjoy Xenoblade Chronicles 2, right?
I got a question for you when you're done. Oh, this is gonna be a good one. Go ahead. No, I got a question though.
And then Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I can be more excited for it and all stuff, because honestly, this Nintendo Direct, I get pumped for all these games, and then I oh yeah, okay, yeah. Then I'm but I don't like playing on the system, right? So then it's it deflates me again, and it's do I buy the system again? Even though I have twice and sold them twice because they just sat there because I try playing on them and I don't enjoy them, right? Is it something where I can, do I wait, right? It's really hard to wait for games that you're excited about, knowing that, with that in the back of your mind, knowing that you're probably going to go through the same struggles you have ever since you got the originally at launch, right? Because I got one at launch, had it for 3 years, sold it eventually. It was okay, now I'm I want to play this with some of my friends. Got it again, played it a little bit, sold it again. you know, and it's like, man, there's some cool announcements now. It's like shit. But like I would probably do the same thing. It's kind of like a battle, you know what I mean? Like mentally. So that's why I really want that next hardware announcement, you know?
Yeah.
Because whatever it is needs to play better on my TV.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all I care about. But on my
And that's
TV,
why
my monitor, whatever, you know.
That's why I said, like, I think they need to come out with a handheld version and I mean, I don't know. That's just me, you know.
So like the Switch Lite 2, and then like basically a Switch C or Switch, you know, standalone or console type of that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, because and you know, I don't know if there's some type of data out there or what showing, you know, how many gamers play handheld versus on the dock. I don't know. I know when I play it, it needs to be on the dock. The controls to me is freaking confusing, honestly. But I don't know. Like I'm with you, Mav. It's kind of like I want to be I'm still to that point where I want to sit on my couch or at my desk and play it, and I don't want to be in the bathroom on the toilet playing it, or you know, on the porch playing it. Like I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I still like to sit on my couch and zoom in on my TV and play, you know. So, but I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, new Switch come out or new Nintendo, whatever you want to call it. Do Nintendo still have the cartridge, or do they go with CD now? Like, where are we here?
I think with digital being so like such a growing market, I think they're just gonna stick with cartridge, right?
Really?
Because I think the percentages of sales are going up with digital. That the cost of the cartridge is less important, and also I do still believe that the next one is going to be a handheld type system, which makes a disc pretty like unrealistic in those situations, right? So with the Switch, you can have a cartridge that works really well with it. But I think the if it was a console, I mean, I think at that point they would maybe go disc again. But I foresee, because tech has gone pushing forward and stuff, I see the next Nintendo device to be portable, just like this one. Because I think the reasoning they're going behind this is because the tech caught up to the point to where you can have a console type game on a Nintendo handheld device, whereas before that 3DS and prior, like you couldn't really put those big worlds in those games, right? And now you can put the big worlds, you can put the big open, like the big RPGs and stuff. They just run like crap, right? But I think this next one will do even better with it, right? So there's some mobile technology and stuff coming out that's going to really push it forward as well. And I think maybe that's causing some of them to wait a little bit on this next one. But I do think that the next iteration, even a handheld Switch or handheld Nintendo device, the next iteration will be way better on our big displays than the current one. Right?
What you think, Fuzzy?
I'm almost to the point where I think all of these companies want to go full on digital. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I'm wondering if they almost do like Xbox and even PlayStation, where they have a like a cartridge or like a almost like a memory card style piece and digital only device as well. Like if you do, let's say they go the Switch route again, but it's like beefier internals. Maybe they go, you know, Switch Lite is digital only, or Switch Lite 2 would be digital only. And it's something that's easier to connect to the internet or Wi-Fi or what have you, as far as if you're in a certain, you know, let's say perimeter of like the docking station, if you have both. And then with the Switch 2, the full-on Switch 2, it's still like memory card / cartridge setup, but primarily pushing people or trying to, you know, nudge them towards digital, just because. Although it's going to take them doing some more, behind the scenes upgrades on their whole web stuff or internet stuff. But man, I think memory cards / cartridge and digital, although I'm starting to think more digital than anything, just for not necessarily costs on their end, but just ease of, kind of locking people into that ecosystem type of thing. Pretty much once you buy all your stuff digitally, it's like they got you. Where else you gonna go with it type of deal.
Yeah.
I was just wondering that because it seemed like I don't know why they don't give up the cartridges just yet. Like I don't know why.
Well, the Wii's were the Wii and the Wii U were disc.
Well, there was disc. Then after that, it just kind of I don't know. It's just they just never looked back.
Yeah,
And
I think it's because of the
wondering-
handheld thing, right? I think it's just like I think it's just because the Switch is a handheld. I think if the Switch, the next iteration after the Wii U, was a console, because this is not a console. Regardless of what anybody wants to say, I'm sorry, okay? Like
but it's not.
I get hate
It's
for all
not.
this all the time, but you can't compare Switch sales to Xbox sales and PlayStation sales for hardware. It's a handheld device. Handheld devices have always sold above and beyond bigger hardware, right?
But you're right. You're 100% right. That's like having a iPad. If you got Apple TV,
yeah, it's like docking your iPad on your TV, right? Because you can dock.
That doesn't make it a console,
right? Because you can make your iPad screen go on a TV doesn't make your iPad not a mobile device, right? Or a handheld device, right? The same thing with your phone. Like the Switch is a handheld device. It is not a traditional gaming console, right? It is a handheld device that you can show the images on the screen, such as a dock. Like, is the Stream Deck a game console? The Steam Deck? Everybody's talking about the Steam Deck right now. It's Valve's handheld. You can dock that shit too and put it on a display. It's not a game console.
It's not a game console,
right? It's not a game console. Nobody sees it as a game console, but people see Nintendo Switch as a game console because they have tricked us into thinking it's a game console.
Yeah.
It is not, right? So it's okay that it's not because it's trying to be in both worlds. I think the next iteration will be closer to meeting in the middle there. Whereas right now, for me, it has all these limitations of a handheld device that you can have on your screen, right? And like this next iteration's got to be that. Now, cartridges, I think, is just a byproduct of it being a handheld. Like if it had been a console where it's a bigger box, you can have a disc, but you can't fit a disc in a handheld system, right? It's just too big, so they could have like the little mini disc things, like those little like things. What did the Vita have?
Like the PSP.
Yeah, PSP. Yeah. But like at that point, it's like still ridiculous, So I think it's just, and I personally actually like the cartridges because they load up faster and stuff, and they're less likely to take damage and all of these kind of things anyway. So, but digitally, I mean, that's how I usually buy games. If it's something I know I'm going to keep forever, I buy them digitally. If it's something I'm on the fence about, I'll buy it physical. That's how I handle with the Switch anyway.
Yeah. Good deal.
All right. Guys, what's up? Joy in the Dark says, you got that X screen to turn your Series S into semi-portal Xbox? Right on. I've seen that. Is it any good? Do you enjoy it?
I did read a little bit about that. They say it's pricey, but it's fairly good. I don't know the price for it though.
Yeah. UMD disc, right? I remember y'all remember mini disc?
Yeah.
I had an Iowa bookshelf stereo system because when I was a teenager I worked at an electronics store and I bought we had Scratch and Dent, which is like a clearance, open box items sit there, and the longer they sit there, the more you clearance it out. We had this mini disc shelf player that had a rotating mini disc tray, so like 5 mini discs were in there and they could rotate, right? It was Iowa. You remember Iowa? AIWA? Yeah. So I bought one. It was like Scratch and Dent, like 75% off, and put it on my shelf at home. Man, that thing was really good, actually. But the mini disc, man, the quality was so good on the mini disc, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy that never took off. But yeah, as far as like gaming stuff though, it's like It's all going to become irrelevant eventually anyway, because it's going to be just more and more digital. But Nintendo's going to be the one that holds on to physical the longest.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
it's funny you say that because y'all remember when Blu-ray disc came out? The disc was blue.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't even know that. I'm like, how you don't know that, but you use a Blu-ray player every day, just about.
Do you remember the was it the PS1 disc or the PS2 disc that had the black coating on it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, was that the PS2? I think it's
PS1. I think
PS1.
Was it PS1?
Yeah, I can't remember. It's PS1 or PS2. I can't remember which one had. They had this like black coating on the disc, right? It was really cool looking, but it didn't really help that much. The one thing about Blu-rays is Blu-rays were harder to scratch than those old discs we used to use back in the day, right? But the disc. If things can just move past disc period and just go digital and cartridge, I'll be actually happy with that, because disc, like, you can't set up somewhere. You gotta be super careful if you put it in a case. I'm always like holding it, like finger in the center, and on the edge, kind of be fragile with this thing everywhere you go. I'm sick of disc. I don't like disc anymore.
Yeah. But it's funny because you still have like my wife, when she bought books, like she can't do the whole e-read thing. Like she have to touch the physical book, and even today it needs to be a hard copy. Like my wife have a ton of books, and to this day she will not buy a digital book or a paper book. It has to be like that's just how it is. That's how she like it. So far as like something like that going on with the digital versus the physical disc, I think eventually will die out, but I don't think it's gonna die out anytime soon, because people still like to have So, but I'm with you though. I don't buy games. I don't. If I buy a disc game, you better believe I pay $10 or less.
It's in like the buy 3 get 1 free bin or something.
There you go. Yeah. That's what it is. Like I got 2 versions of the Marvel Avenger games. I got one I bought day one, downloaded on Xbox, but when I heard Spider-Man was coming out soon, I went to Best Buy and I got it for $10 for the PS5. So it was like, but yeah, I'm with you though, man. It's like, if we get away from that type of, be discless, then I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Boba Fett was saying that he doesn't actually understand why they switched from cartridges to disc. Cartridges were better always, but the problem was the space and cost, right? Like it's way cheaper to get more space on a disc, and also the material is also a lot cheaper, right? So it just all came to cost. That's why games back then were about the same price as they are today, because the cartridges actually and distribution of all that stuff was actually still pretty costly. So Fuzzy was actually having this debate with somebody who was claiming that, talking about the, games were $50 in 1995, and today that equivalent to today, that's like $110 or whatever. And like we're complaining about $70 games, like to trying to make an excuse for the $70, right? And you were just saying, well, it's like it doesn't. I can't remember what you said.
Well, it was like it's a bad comparison, primarily because the cartridge back then was 50% more than 50% of the cost. Like they actually had the chipset in the cartridge, so whatever you had in the actual console, in a lot of cases, especially in the later part of the generation, they had to bump up what was in the cartridge. That's why some of them were a little bit higher priced, because they had more memory on that cartridge or something along those lines. So when you take away that cartridge cost and then convert like $20 or $30 then to what it is now, it's right on par with like a $40 or $50 game. So a lot of people are like, well, the games then were more simple. Well, not knocking indie games, but some of those are going to be more of like a smaller or simple experience comparably to like a AAA game. So it's right in line with the $40 and $50 price point. But when you look at like some of the $60 and $70 games now, that would be more like the equivalent of like a $60 cartridge, because there were some $60 cartridges back then as well.
Even
like
more
Street
than
Fighter,
that, actually.
I think, was one.
Yeah, they had ones that were even more back then.
Oh, we won't even talk about Neo Geo. Those were pretty much the arcade cabinet chipsets in a home device, basically. And like at that point, I would say about 80% of that cost was the cartridge as opposed to the game file that was on that cartridge. But yeah, it's tough to compare prices of that stuff from the past to now, just because a disc, I used to know the exact pricing, but it was like a sixth of a cent per disc when you try to spec things out when you're putting software on like a DVD or Blu-ray versus like a cartridge. You got to take into account for the mold, the chipset, or whatever electronic pieces are going to be inside of that thing. It's tens of dollars at that point, until you get to the point where you have like millions of mass-produced things. Then it drops to like maybe $5 or $6 here. But back then, like that's pricing now.
So
back
if you made a lot of games like that back then and it didn't sell,
oh man,
yeah,
you go to Philly,
like that ET graveyard.
Exactly.
No, but seriously though, like the like back then, like it was a huge right now the risk is actually lower, even though the development cost is higher, because digital distribution, like you can have a game go digitally, and you don't have to pre-make these copies, right? It's just you put it out, you put it in the storefront, and people are going to buy however many they buy, and then the storefront gets a cut.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then you're just paying for server power usage at that point.
And then if you do physical releases still have a cost, but it's still way less than what it was back in the day with cartridges, right? So, and the other aspect of that with game pricing is back then in like the mid 90s and before, like the market size was like what 1/100th potentially of what it is today. I mean, I don't even know the numbers, but I mean, the gaming space has dwarfed what it was back then, right? As far as like purchases of games, I mean, yearly millions and millions and millions of games are getting sold by multiple publishers, multiple titles reach into those millions categories. Whereas back then, if you hit 1 million, it was like a wow, that was a thing. Like. Now
if you reached 1 million, you could almost retire as a dev team.
I mean,
we sold 1 million copies. All right, we're closing up shop, starting our own studio.
So if you got to try and like make it big, like and it's risk versus reward back then. It's like a cost versus all that. Like today, the risk is, even though you have a lot of risk up front with development costs and all these things, it's always very risky, like because of the lack of having to go physical for number one, and then also having to be able to sell unlimited on all these different ecosystems, right? Like, I mean, it's just the cost should not at that point be being elevated. The cost actually potentially should be going down. Especially on these big publishers that are recording record profits and making $5 billion+ in microtransactions. Do the math. Okay, let's say Call of Duty sells 12 million copies. Okay, happens every year. Okay, add $10 to that. That's 120 million. Okay, easy math. They make $5 billion+ in microtransactions. That 120 million, they need to get that from you. Right? They have to, because it's a necessity, because of inflation, because games go up, because of all of this bullshit. Right?
Yeah.
Now I can make an exception for PlayStation, because PlayStation doesn't fill their games with microtransactions.
Right.
Those single player big RPGs and single player action adventure games, I mean, like God of War, Horizon Forbidden West, if the development cost is that high, and they also are limiting themselves to the reach, right, that they can go, because you're only selling to within the box currently, and then maybe later on PC, right? Your ecosystem is smaller, right? You're not going to cloud, you're not going all these other places day one. I could see the necessity to be at 70 on a PlayStation game, but an Activision game, a Take-Two game, a EA game, there is no excuse. No necessity, period. Nobody will ever be able to convince me otherwise. It is complete horse shit that they need to. However, the market dictated that they're okay with it. So it is what it is. I'm not going to complain about it. Right? I'm not going to complain about it. But for people out there championing it, people out there being like, This is why they need to be $70. We shouldn't be like this. Those people are the reason why we're stuck with the $70 games now. Right?
But it's true. Yeah.
Those people are the reason why. Right? So
and I don't want to see any of those people use coupons or buy anything on sale ever.
And
negotiate their car price. Nah.
Yep. You just walk in there, whatever the sticker price is.
Sticker price? Well, you got a $5,000 markup on that car? Sure, I'll pay it.
Yep. Like, give me here. I'll throw in an extra $2,000. Why not? Just because you're a nice person.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And it's funny because every year me and my son. It's funny you say that, man, because every year me and my son we buy 2K. Every year. I buy it for the Xbox. He bought it for the PlayStation. And it's funny because for me and the type of gamer I am, I enjoy the grind. I enjoy getting on there, grinding, leveling up. My son, who have his own bank account, his own money, oh yeah. He'll go buy the $100 edition and he'll drop another $200 to max out his my player. And I'm like, why?
Yeah. It's the way they spent. It's crazy.
Why? Easily $300.
2K immediately.
Go.
These guys on 2K. Oh, why don't you you got to get the $100 edition at least, or you got to get this because you got to get your my player leveled up. Like, you don't realize what they just did to you. They made you not be able to compete unless you spend money.
Unless you spend it, So it's I salute him. Hats off to you. It's funny because I remember he came up to me a couple months afterwards, like, can you buy him some VCs for like 50? And I'm like, why? Because I met another player and I want to level him up. You have your own money. Why are you asking me? If that's what you want to do, you do it. I don't advise you to do it, but you worked hard for that. You do it.
That game design is entirely meant to be able to milk money out of us, and we're okay with them charging $10 more for that game.
Yeah. I'm like,
like,
son, you got a lot to learn, but you young, you want to play with your friends, by all means go for it. You'll feel it when you get some real bills. You're gonna feel it.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on from that. And another game that has been criticized for being overpriced, and even this one I strongly disagree with as being over. Like, people are like, absolutely. Oh, you shouldn't have to pay like $40, $50 for Sifu because it only has 5 levels and you can beat it in 40 minutes. All that stuff's bullshit as well. Like, this game is had a lot of time poured into it from the devs, been in development for a really long time. It takes a long time to actually beat for the first time, and if you can even beat it, because it's ridiculously hard, right? And I think they built what seems to be a very high quality game that's got a lot of replay value in it, and I think they're asking for a pretty fair price for that. But so I know you've been playing quite a bit of it, Key. I saw you streaming it. I saw you getting a little cocky early on. I was like, I stopped in your stream. I was like, I came to see here if you were struggling, and you're like, no, man, I'm good. Look, this is not that bad, And then I hear the next day you had a really rough time after I left.
Oh, man.
How is it, man? How's Sifu treating you?
Let me tell you, the first 2 enemies on that board, it's a setup. It's a setup. Whoever pick up that game, when you climb over that gate, there's 2 guys sitting there. You start the game. No, I apologize. When you in the rain and you kick down the door, I'm like, oh man, my player kicked down this door and there's a guy in that hallway. That's a lie. Don't trust it. It's there to get your confidence up, but at the same time, it's there to hurt your feelings. Don't fall for it. Now, with that being said, I love that game. Those type of games I love. I said it before the game came out. I was like, listen, this type of game, watching the trailers, reading about it, even before the reviews, I tweeted it and I said, this is the type of game that will be in a conversation for a game of the year. Not winning. I don't think so, because we have a lot of games coming out, but this would definitely be a conversation because it's the style of game it is and the type of art. I love the art in this game. Yeah. It's beautiful. I played it last night on my OLED and I was like, man, this game looks good for that type of art style. Mm-hmm. And I love it all around. Combat, I love it. Yes, it is challenging. Honestly,
that's okay though, right? Like, for some games,
that's the thing.
There's not a whole lot of those kind of games out there that just kick your ass.
Yeah, and it's not. it's frustrating, it's challenging, but it's not to the point where it's like, you know what, screw it, I'm never playing this again, I'm throwing it out the window, I'm deleting it, that's it. It's challenging, but it's like
makes you want to be better.
Right, there you go, just to keep going. You might got to take a break from it, but I guarantee you will come back to this game because it's that much enjoyable. Like, I love it. I completed the first level. I think I only died twice, so I think I'm like 26, 25, something like that.
Yeah.
You start off when you're 20, so I think I'm like, actually I might be like 24, 25. The second level, which I just read an article on it today, and they said like large amount of people struggle with the second level boss, which that's why they announced that they're coming out with an easy mode, and I think there's a mode below easy if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong on that one, but I think right.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact they're coming out with an easy mode, but I'm okay with that. Like, I did make it to that boss. Jesus, I made it to that boss and I was freaking like 73 when I made it to, and this is the second level out of 5. So when I get to that man, I was like, I didn't even fight him. I just reset. I quit. Like, I got to go back. Like, there's no point here. Like, even his little intro, I was like, holy shit, this dude, he's ready. I'm not. But it's details. I'm all about details in games. And one thing I love, when you come back and as your age get older and older, your voice change, which blew me away. Not just how you look, but your voice change. And I'm like, man, stuff like that I love. I love this game. Hands down, I love it.
Yeah.
It's worth more than $40. Yeah, you can beat it in 40 minutes if you're that good, but there's
nobody's gonna do that on their first playthrough.
Yeah, ain't no way. But there's so much more within this game. You know, when you first start off with the first level, you know, you get these keys, you pick up key cards, you pick up this, whatever, and you go back and play that level again, and now you can take shortcuts, or you can, you know, find new ways to level up, because that first walkthrough, you picked up a key card. Now you want to know what's inside that door. Or when I played the club, I ran through it, you know, I said, hey, where's such and such, you know, move out the way. I was cocky about it. Then I went back through it again, and I answered to what they were saying, which is, hey, you're about to enter this tournament whether you want to or not. And besides me saying F you, move, or where's such and such, I answered by saying, well, how many levels are there? And that opened up a different path. Now you're playing against different type of enemies. So the amount of replay you can do with this game it's amazing. Like, I love it. I love it. Hands down, as of now, and I've been playing Dying Light. I already got Forbidden West is on the way. You know, I'm gonna play that, whatever. But right now, this is literally my game of the year because how it stands out. You know, it's something different. It's something different. Like I said, man, just details from the person getting older, the voice, whether you are male or females. I could go on about this game. I could sell this game to you, but I'm gonna let Fuzzy talk because I know he's been playing. But yes, I'm going to end it with this. If you guys pick this game up, learn from my mistake. Do not get cocky. Do not get cocky. That's all I'm gonna say. Fuzzy, take it over, baby.
Man, I too enjoy this game. Like you said, the start, it's like a false sense of security. I'm like, oh, this is how this works. Oh, this doesn't seem too bad. And then you realize who you're starting off as versus what you're going to be playing as the entire game. I'm not going to spoil it, but overall, like, just like the small details, like even listening to the enemies, like, oh, he's got a weapon, and then like when you like rise up again, like their reactions, and like sometimes like some of them I've seen them run or like start to cower. Like if you are out there with like I think it's not is it the third level where you start getting knives or sharp objects and stuff? It's like you stab enough of them the right way, or if you already have it where your weapons are able to last longer so they don't break down and you become more proficient. Like I messed up on some of the upgrades, so I've had to go back and replay those so I can come out at a younger age. Because like the first level I made it out at like 35 or 38, because like the last boss, him jumping out of the trees and stuff, that he was just kicking my butt. Like I'm like, whew. And I didn't realize, like I tried to look for a pattern, but I didn't realize like with a second phase, it's like a whole different thing type of deal. So just getting that timing down and then making it to the second level boss and stuff like that. The first half is a little easy if once you get used to the pattern, but then afterwards it's like you can kind of brute force your way through. You just got to be careful because you take a lot more damage. But just every small like little detail, whether it's the enemies, whether it's the practice that you can do back at your house or the dojo, and some of the skills you can pick, just make sure you look at, like I didn't realize like some skills lock off at age 20 to 25, some lock off at up to age 40, and then some lock off at age 60. I went the other way. I started putting more points into the ones for when you're like closer to 60, not realizing that was a case. I thought it was like, oh, well, these points are like, oh, it's going to take 60 XP for that. No, I completely, the first playthrough, completely just not really paying attention to the upgrades, because I was like, oh, this eye poke thing or this, smack in the nose, that should work out better. No, it's like you sometimes you have to use like a foot sweep, and that gives you at least 2 free hits when they're down, as long as you make sure you don't get hit before you hit them. But there's just so many things that, like, learning the patterns, it's like Street Fighter, but way more detail as far as like the different moves. And yeah, you're not doing like shurikens and things like that, but just getting used to like how you can do a block or like a block and then a counter, or a foot sweep counter and hit them while they're down, or just all of the different moves coming together. And that's why I like to practice so much, because it's like after a while I forgot how to block high. Like they show you in the beginning how you block high, and I kind of like forgot about it because I wasn't doing that much. I was like, oh, I'll just step away. I was like, make sure you keep on keeping people from behind you. Like you get surrounded quick if you're not careful. And I always learn from like, military self-defense. It's like you always want to keep everybody in front of you if you can. You don't want to you want to make sure nobody's behind you. So it's like you keep on positioning yourself in the room, and if you got to run to a corner or run, hop over a desk to get to the other side, so that way nobody's behind you, that's what you got to do. But it was like after they started doing like the high attacks, I'm like, why am I taking damage? And I was like, all right, let me go back to the dojo, figure out how I can, just quickly remember not to do like the foot sweep at the time where I probably should do a block high type of deal. And yeah, there's just so much to this thing that it's well worth the 40. I did the deluxe copy for like the artwork and stuff like that, and I got it through the PS sale. But this honestly is a game that could sell for 60, and I'd be fine with it. Easy. Like it is that good. It is that challenging. In easy mode, I'm fine with it. I might actually get to see the ending without breaking the controller, but I'm still gonna try my best to, like, let's say they put an easy mode and I beat it. I'm gonna go back and play it on normal, because at least that way I'll have an idea of maybe the pattern, so that way I'll be better prepared, and then just keep trying my best to like beat the game at 25, which I guess there's an achievement for that. Which I'm already out of that by the third board. So yeah, I it's going to take me going through a lot of those and having like a perfect first and second level, where at worst I'm at 21. I'm far from that level yet. Like I think I start the third at 60 something, and I don't last too long. It's like, oh, a couple more deaths, I already got the number piled up to like 6 or 7, and it's like, yeah, I'm done within a short period of time. But it is possible once you get used to like the moves, and then you got to get used to like the little mini bosses where it's like, was it the Beyond the Dragon or something like that, where people start glowing or have that smoke on type of deal, or like a flame behind them. It's like, this game has so much depth to it.
Yeah.
This game has so much replayability to it. It's definitely worth picking it up. And for those that may not have a PS5 at the moment, or a PS4 or whatever, hopefully it comes to other consoles, or definitely consider picking it up on PC, because you got some performance tweaks that you can do, as far as even adding, well, not necessarily more effects, but you could use like DLSS and stuff like that. But from what I've seen of people running on PC, it runs pretty much flawless on Ultra for anybody that has like a 20 series card or better. So, but this game, playing it on PS5, it's awesome. Definitely worth picking up. I hope Slow Clap considers bringing it to other platforms within the year, give or take. Sooner would be nice, but hey, if it's anything like what they did with Absolver, I think Absolver came to Xbox like maybe a year later or 6 months later or something like that.
I think it was like a year.
Yeah. And see,
that's sure, though.
This is the type of game where you want to play this. You want to it's hard to get a PS5, like you said, Fuzzy, a lot of people, which I don't think it required too much to run it on your PC, but you definitely want that best experience, like you said, a 20 series or higher, most definitely. Because like I said, I enjoy the art style of it. I enjoy how it looks, and that was the reason I fell in love with I always get her name confused. Kina, whatever. From last year on the feed. That's why I fell in love with the music is what caught my attention, but it's just a different type of game. And I made this comment. A guy came, he was like, I can't consider this game of the year with other games coming out this year. And I'm like, I told him, I agree with you, but at the same time, every game that's really big is a part two to it. This Forbidden West, that's the second game. God of War 2 or Ragnarok, whatever it's called, like this the second one. It's like this is a game that's different in that type of style. So I love it. It is challenging. It's funny because I have seen people on Twitter say that they have completed the game at like age 28 and they're okay with that. They're fine with that. They can sleep good at night. Anybody else I have seen complete this game in the 30 range, 40, 50, 60, is funny because they're like, no. I got to go back and play it again and beat it at a younger age. And again, it's just that satisfaction of, man, I beat this game at age 20. It was fun. It was frustrating. It's frustrating, yes, but it's just a reward of knowing that, man, I had a blast playing this for the second or third time. So definitely pick it up. If you guys can get your hands on it, highly recommend it. Pick it up. Like I said, this is something to be considered, a game of the year. I'm not saying it's going to win, but this is something to be in that conversation because it's just something different, hands down.
Yeah, 100%, man. Well, guys, I'm glad you're enjoying Sifu. It probably come to Xbox in the future as well if you're looking forward to that. I think it's also available right now on PC. So check it out on PC if you don't have a PS5 and you have a PC. That's one way. If you get a Steam Deck, you could probably play it that way. I think it's on Steam. Is it on Steam or Epic Store?
Epic right now.
It's right now. Epic,
but okay, never mind. But yeah, for real, everybody, I appreciate you guys hanging out tonight in the chat. You guys rock. Hi there, Canal *BR from Brazil. Hello. Man, a fun show. Mr. Joanna Dark, just lots of awesome stuff in the chat. I see my wife there too, baby. Hey, I'm gonna come say hi for a minute right before we go live on Shop Podcast coming up, where me and Fuzzy are gonna be joining PTK Blam. KhAos is guesting there as well. We're gonna be hanging out with Pong Soul. I don't know who all's gonna be there, but we're gonna have a blast, and we'll see everybody there on PTK Blam's channel. the shop podcast in 15 minutes, actually. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you guys got to go use the bathroom, get something to drink, and get back home.
Yeah, seriously, guys, I appreciate all you, Boba Fett, UK Lad, Matt Byrnes, Fifth Horseman, everybody that tuned in. You guys rock. Geezer Prime. But Fuzzy, where can everybody find you, bro?
Oh, awesome show. Glad you have me on here tonight. You can find me on Shop Podcast, like you were saying, in 15 minutes with PTK, Blab, you, and Pong Soul and KhAos. Mondays with you on Tidbits, week in review, or not really week in review, but game releases, gems, hidden gems that people may have missed. And on Friday mornings on Breakfast with Boom, on Mr. Boomstick XL or Double Barrel Gaming's channel. And then right here again, Saturday, 6 p.m. Next week on FSP with you and Key. So
yeah,
awesome time, guys. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for coming out.
Right on, man. And one of the nicest people in the world is Key. Where can everybody find you, bro? And see you getting older in Sifu.
Yeah, because it will happen. I will get older. That's just what it is. The cockiness is gone. I would, yeah. But yeah, you guys can of course find me here every Saturdays, 6 p.m. Eastern time, hanging out with these two fine gentlemen. And I love it, man. Just talking about other stuff in the gaming world. So that's why I definitely look forward to this podcast. But yeah, you can find me on my channel, Just Key, doing reaction there. Like I said, I'm trying to revamp the channel because I want to go to different directions. So I have content up, but not as frequently that I should, but it's an active channel. So be patient with me. I even took the step of going back to Twitch streaming. I don't know why I want that challenge of trying to be partner. So I became an affiliate on there in like 45 days. So I figure why not get back on there and see if I can make partner within the end of the year. So I'll probably be playing Sifu on there. Just One Key, of course. And I have a third channel that I'm announcing soon because I have a podcast I'm trying to work together, podcast/show. And some ideas, which, man, if I need to get at you, because I have a segment, I want you to work with me on that if you have free time, because you, Pong, and Fuzzy, I mean, every time on YouTube, y'all on a different channel, so a different show. So I don't know if you have time.
We'll work something out.
Yeah, we'll work something out. But yeah, you can always find me on Gaming Key Twitter as well, on there tweeting, kicking with these fine gentlemen, everybody else as well. So I'm around. So thank you guys for the love and support. It's always good to just talk gaming. That's what we are, gamers, So thank you. And Mav, thank you for putting this together. Fuzzy, thank you for all of your knowledge. Because boy, you got the knowledge, let me tell you that. So thank you for spitting knowledge at us as well. So thank you guys.
Yeah, right on, man. Appreciate you, dude. And shout out to Noof Nukem in the chat. Boom, boom, kaboom. Back to you, sir. Dude, we have an amazing lineup next week as well, just like we always do every week. We got Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, full of shows here on Fun Speculation on YouTube. We're gonna start doing news updates as well with regular shorter video content, like my wife dropped yesterday here on the channel to give everybody an update on Call of Duty news that hit, as well as lots more coming your way here. So game streams and the such. So appreciate everybody's time here on all of our shows and content. For updates on when we're going live and for information on the channel, check us out on Twitter at Fun Speculation. And I hope to see everybody there tonight on the shop if you're available. We're going to have a blast, so stop on by. All right, guys, have a good one and take it easy.
Y'all be safe.
Bye-bye.
Later.